This is going to be a deep video because it's all the lessons, well, not all the lessons, but 10 lessons that I have learned over 10 years of walking a spiritual path. And when I say a spiritual path, I just mean when I began questioning life, when I began questioning my life, my experiences, my existence, I began meditating. I began taking seriously this life and trying to understand what it's all about and trying to understand my place in it. That happened when I was 20. I'm now 30. The first one is you are a soul and you chose to be here. Now, this isn't like fact, right? None of these lessons that I'm going to share are fact. They're just what I have come to understand in my own life. And if you resonate, you resonate. And if you don't, that's cool. They're not necessarily going to be verifiable, right? Some of them are verifiable, but you have to be open to them being verifiable, right? If you're not ready to accept certain truths about life, you're not going to experience them as truth. So the first being, you are a soul. You exist as a soul. Some people don't want to accept that they are this entity called a soul, or that is what you are. You're the one that's experienced your entire life. You're the one that will go on to experience the rest of your life, and you are the one that will go on beyond that. You chose to be here at this time. We all chose to be here at this time on Earth because it's an exciting time to be alive. There are a lot of changes happening on Earth at the moment. We saw a lot of possibilities for growth and for learning and for being challenged, for evolution. Life is about evolution. Spiritual life is no different. We want to evolve, we want to grow, we want to experience more, we want to learn more. We want to have new experiences and new ways of navigating through reality. We are a lower self, and we are also a higher self. The higher self chose to be here. We have a higher part of our soul that is not in charge, but guiding, directing. It's our greater self that is navigating the way, right? But the lower self, who we know ourselves to be, is our human self, right? Our animal self, the self that is down here, living it, right? Down here in the mud, down here in the challenges and the difficult lessons. We're the ones that are integrating the lessons. And the more we can connect with our higher self, the easier life will be, or at least not the easier, it's not the right word. The more we're able to navigate life in our correct way, in a way that is best suited to us. Number 2 is polarities will always exist. If you didn't know what lower emotions felt like, how would you know what higher emotions feel like? If you didn't know what hot was, how would you know what cold was, and vice versa? Up implies down, down implies up. You get the gist. Polarities literally have to exist in the universe in order for there to be anything at all, because one pole exists in mirror with an opposite pole, right? And one of the biggest ones would be the battle between good and evil. What is good and holy and correct and right, righteous, loving, accepting, compassionate, and what is what we would term evil, lower, greed, lust, pain, inflicting pain. You know, these two really opposing forces exist in the universe. It's a fact because we know that they do. They exist here on Earth. And you can't be without them. We're not going to magically create a world in which there is no more darkness, right? Because darkness implies light, and light implies darkness. Whatever casts a light, every light casts a shadow, okay? The brighter the light, the darker the shadow, if that makes sense. Polarities are there, they exist, they will always exist. They can't not exist. We can only become wise about our own choices and what we choose to experience. Number 3, you experience the world, but you aren't of the world. What I mean by this is the world around us is illusory. You might have heard the theory that which, you know, physicists and scientists are actually taking seriously now, that the world is like a matrix, like a simulation theory. Well, many of the great sages and the great teachers have understood this for a long time, that this physical 3-dimensional world that we're in is ever-changing and illusory, and it's not that it isn't real, so to speak, and there are real consequences, and you can't just go and do whatever you want, and you know there will be consequences. Might experience pain, you might experience pleasure, you might experience etc., etc. But the actual simulation itself isn't real. What is real is you, the experiencer of the simulation. Everything around you is ever changing and ever dissolving. Life to death, you know, rebirth, life, death, rebirth. And everything does that. Everything dissolves. And including your own body, by the way, which is part of the simulation as well. But what isn't part of the simulation is you, the experiencer of the sim. The simulation wouldn't work unless there was a witness to it, and you're the witness. So even though your body and your mind change and you learn and you do evolve and you grow, you are the thing that doesn't change. The simulation around you changes, but you don't change. All you do is navigate through different states of being. Number 4, science can't understand consciousness because consciousness cannot see itself. Consciousness sees, but it is unseen. So consciousness is the one, like my last point, you are the consciousness, you are the witness. You're the one that is seeing everything. You're the one that is aware. But you can't see what is seeing, right? You can look at your hands, you can't look at your own eyes, right? You can look in the mirror, but that's besides the point. You can't see back into yourself. It's an interesting thing to really knock on the door, so to speak, of your own consciousness. You can get in very deep states of meditation where you are nothing but the witness. You're nothing but consciousness itself. But consciousness it's an outward projecting phenomena. And it cannot witness inward. You can witness yourself, but you can't see consciousness. So science is all about understanding the outside world and cutting everything up and understanding things at a molecular level or at a quantum level. But it still doesn't understand consciousness, even at the quantum level. it can only see what consciousness does, how it behaves in organisms. But consciousness, the organism itself doesn't create consciousness. Consciousness navigates the organism, right? The organism is just a vehicle for consciousness, okay? Number 5, life is a classroom. I was listening to a video of Ram Dass, and he was talking about how he had a spiritual teacher, let's say, that told him life is a classroom. So why don't you try taking the curriculum, right? It's not about getting away from the body. It's not about getting away from being human. It's not about transcending humanness, right? It's about deeply being compassionate of humanness, being accepting of humanness, your fallibility, your mistakes, your regrets, your everything it is to be human, right? So life is a classroom, and lessons will repeat themselves until you learn them and move on. They'll keep coming back. I've experienced this many times in my own life where I refuse to learn a lesson and it keeps coming right back and slapping me in the face. And sometimes when we refuse to learn lessons, the lesson can become more and more challenging until we it's like a wake-up call, until we wake up and become wise to certain things and to certain little patterns that we're unwilling to witness, we're unwilling to accept about ourselves and move on from and transcend. Number 6, this reality is one of many. We cannot conceive of the magnitude of reality in all its forms. But even in this one, we can't perceive much of what is truly happening all around us. All right, science knows that we can't. Our eyes can only see a certain spectrum of light, right? This is just a simple example of we can't see the entire color spectrum or the entire light spectrum. We can't hear the entire spectrum of frequency. There's so much going on around us just in our environment, let alone out in the infinity of space. But even beyond that, we're talking metaphysics, beyond physical matter, there are other realities. This is not the only reality. There are other states that people can access, people have been accessing for a very long time. Shamans can access altered dimensions through consciousness. You can access different dimensions through psychedelic drugs. You can access different dimensions through astral projection, through dream states, turn to lucid dreaming, turn to astral projection. There are many states of being, many states of existence. So when we open our mind to this possibility, we can start to have a little bit more curiosity and wonder about reality instead of getting stuck, just on earth with earthly duties and driving cars and, paying taxes and working jobs. There's so much going on beyond our sort of myopic life. And to me, that's freeing. It's a freeing feeling. I've always look out at the stars and I see and I feel free, because I'm free from what feels a bit like a prison at times, the prison of a body, the prison of a life in which I have to accomplish things and get things done and feed myself and do all these things to survive. Essentially, it's a survival game. But you transcend the survival game, you get out of survival mode in your nervous system, then you can come across these higher ideas, these you can start to fall in love with life again and the infinite multiplicity of existence. Number 7, the more you relax, the more you are able to allow life to move through you and attract better circumstances. How often have you had the experience of being super uptight, super angry, super pissed off, super anxious, stressed out, and things just got worse and worse and worse? Hopefully things, you didn't go through a day that got really worse, but you can get there, you know? Like a bad morning can turn into a bad afternoon, and there's no limit to how bad you can make your day. You know, like people get into car accidents and, you know, all kinds of things. I'm not saying that sometimes things just happen. It's not always the case of, you know, if you relax, everything's going to be fine all the time, and you're never going to be challenged, and you're never going to be like, have something bad happen to you, right? But if you relax, whatever happens to you is out of your control, right? And in some regards, it was meant to happen. But the more you relax, the better life can work with you, right? The more you resist, the more life kind of resists you, right? It's a back and forth game, all right? The more you relax and take it easy and go slowly and smoothly, the more life will feel smooth and enjoyable to navigate through, and people will respond to you better, and you'll feel better about life because you're relaxing your nervous system, you're relaxing your body, and you're coming across better circumstances, better conversations, better things start happening for you. You get better ideas because you can't get good ideas when you're in a tense state of being. The more you relax, the more you get into parasympathetic nervous system zone, and you can catch good ideas. And when you catch good ideas, you make better decisions. And when you make better decisions, you end up in better places in life. It's only logical, right? Number 8, souls are eternal. You are a soul, and so you'll continue long after you die. And you have been going on for a very long time. Especially if you're watching this video. Especially if you're watching this far along and you haven't gotten bored yet. If you're still watching this, you are like an old soul, right? You're eternal. How do I know this? I don't know for sure. I don't know anything for sure. None of what I've said I know for sure. I have like a very sharp mind, as in not like boasting or anything, but my mind is very like, will pick things apart, and you know, I'm very skeptical, and I don't just accept things willy-nilly, right? It takes me a long time to fully accept ideas. But I've been studying near-death experiences for a long time now. It's amazing how many people, genuine people, share their stories, genuine, authentic people. You just feel it, that they're telling the truth. They have nothing to gain from lying. It's coming from their heart. Of dying, these stories of people dying, leaving their body and experiencing their loved ones, spirit guides, a life review, and being pain-free, experiencing an intense feeling of warmth and compassion and love, and just being encapsulated by that and being free, almost like taking off a really tight shoe after a really long day. That's what it feels like to die, apparently. I've never died, so I don't know. I've had a few encounters with nearly dying, but not of this caliber. I've nearly drowned, and I remember experiencing I remember witnessing what was going on, even though I couldn't have been witnessing what was going on because I was underwater. I remember being able to see what people were doing around me. I've left my body several times spontaneously, which is the experience of astral projection, where I've been laying in bed, half asleep, half awake, and I've spontaneously but intentionally left my body. The feeling is unlike anything else. It's a vibration that runs through your entire body, and almost like a pop and a weightlessness. And yeah, I flew through my bedroom wall. So yeah, it's pretty weird, but don't knock it till you try it. Once you kind of have the experience of being outside this physical body, you tend to kind of adhere to the idea that, you're like, whatever you are goes on beyond physical, beyond sickness and death, essentially. Number 9. I don't know how long this is going for, by the way. Sorry if it goes too long, but you're still here watching, so thanks. 9. You aren't being judged by anyone higher than you, aka God, Spirit, the universe, higher reality. There is only unconditional love and understanding. Consciousness levels at this higher form that is almost unspeakable. It's unspeakable to speak of, God or the ultimate reality or the ultimate, Mother Nature, whatever you want to call it, whatever label. It's almost unspeakable. You can't really put words on it because words doesn't really do it justice, essentially. But it's so human to judge. It's so lower state of being to like beat ourselves up and to think that we're not worthy and to think that we're destined for failure and destined for the worst scenarios and that potentially after life there's a potential for going to hell, and because we're born into sin, and like that's just an old idea. It's old, it needs to be updated. Higher levels of consciousness, God doesn't care about the mistakes that you've made. There's no possibility of judgment within the power of unconditional love. We don't even know the first thing about unconditional love because human love is conditional. It is, Name one person in your life that has unconditional love for you, right? I'm not trying to bum you out or anything, right? But love is conditional in that there might be people in your life that will always love you, but they won't tolerate you, right? They won't always tolerate you. In fact, most people won't tolerate bullshit, right? Even if they do, yeah, that's besides the point. Unconditional love at these higher levels of existence, we can't even comprehend. No one's judging you. You're here to learn. You're here to grow. Even if you make the same mistake over and over and over and over again, the only person that's going to judge you is yourself and possibly other humans, but in the end, other humans aren't really paying attention to you and your life anyway. So you are the biggest judge of your own experience and your own life. And so it helps to ease up on yourself, to take yourself lightly. All right, that's how you raise your vibration. That's how you move into these higher levels of awareness, by easing up on yourself. All right, because no one else is judging you, only you. All right, number 10, lucky last, everything is one. Oneness is the ultimate reality, Everything is connected. Everything. You are inseparable from the whole of existence. There is no separation between you and everything else. We might think that there is because there's space between us, but really what's happening in between this hand and the camera and you watching this video and at a different time altogether and a different location altogether is just waves and particles that are all connected. So even at the scientific level, they're slowly starting to unravel and understand that there is this unified field of intelligence that transcends all matter, but is all matter and is all non-matter, and it is everything. Very hard truth to accept, but it is an ultimate truth, we are all connected, we're all in this together, to quote High School Musical. So, everything is connected. You're meant to be here, you chose to be here. I appreciate you listening to all these points. It took a little while to write them all. Well, it took me many years to come to these conclusions. And even then, I don't even say conclusion lightly, like my mind is always going to be like somewhat skeptical about everything, but these are some things that I've come to understand in my own life. They're truths that I live by and that support me in this difficult life, right? Because life can be pretty challenging. And they've helped me move through this existence with a sense of detachment, not in a detachment in the form of, nothing matters, I don't care about anything. I'm deeply involved with life and other people, and I've developed a lot of love for myself and for many people around me. But this I come back to in the sense of it's all temporary. It's only a school. It's only a simulation. It's only, what I am is much, much bigger, much older, much more powerful than I can comprehend in my human form. I'm just here to check it out, to check out Earth and to do my best and to learn some lessons and evolve my soul a little bit. And so are you. All right. Have a good day or night. Take it easy. And I'll see you in the next video.